you could make us all mods or whatever. Ah, there it
There you
is.
go.
Ah, nice.
All right,
Looks
we're
like we
recording
did it.
now.
Dope.
All right.
I'm sure figuring out how to download the files.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you can download them basically.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
Though it does a
And you can
different
download it for
different
7
one for
days.
each channel, for each voice channel. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. So what would you like to talk about tonight, Jason? I've got a few topics in my mind, but why don't you lead?
Oh, no, you go ahead and lead, Scott. I have no topics in mind. So,
All right. All right. So I want to tell you guys about the newest bullshit workers' compensation insurance carriers are pulling in regards to premium. It has to do with the coronavirus. Topical. So here's the deal. A lot of businesses are trying to keep their employees on payroll, but they're not working. They're idle. And the federal government is helping them do that with small business, quote unquote, loans. But these loans will be forgiven so long as you use 75% of that for payroll. The idea is keep people in their jobs, keep them getting paid, but they don't work. And this is sort of a way the federal government to keep it going. That sounds great. So you have people being paid and they're not working. They're doing their stuff. They're from home. But it's a way of keeping businesses going. It's a way of keeping workers getting paid. It's a way of stopping us from falling into a depression. Good stuff.
Was this part of the stimulus? Part
Yes.
of the stimulus package? Okay.
Yes. If you're a company with less than 500 employees, you can apply for this. And it's legitimately, it's a good deal. $350 billion with B. First come, first served. Here's how workers' comp carriers are doing this. So they have a provision in their manuals that say, if you have workers that are idle, but you're still paying them, we're going to charge you premium as though they were working still. So like it's based off of rates and jobs. Let's say you're a roofing company and you have no roofing jobs right now, but you're still paying them. What the rules say is, even though there's no exposure, there's no possibility of getting hurt, because again, they're idle, they're still going to charge you premium for your employees not working, which is a pretty slick trick, if you ask me, because there's no possibility of the insurance carriers having a claim, right? Because no one's working,
how are
no
they
one's up on a roof.
that?
It's in the rules. They have a memo
it's in the
out
rules
today
if they
saying
accept the money from the government, or
no, it's in the rules. So the insurance carriers are getting premiums from small business association, from small businesses, right?
Right.
Because they have policies. Small businesses are paying their employees through these government loans, and a lot of them are going to be paying their employees not to work, which means there can be no claims, no exposure, right? You're not up on a roof.
Right.
You're not doing anything. Insurance carriers' response is, we know we're not going to have to pay any claims, but our rules say we can still charge you premium, even though there's no possibility of a claim.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
They're
because guess who wrote the rules? That's why.
Yeah. So they're charging you roofing company rates for pay for sitting at home. That's scandalous to me. That is. And the rules aren't entirely clear on this.
I'm not shocked at all. That I'm sure we'll see plenty of fucking weird little things like that going on where people are finding sneaky little ways to take their pieces of the pie, you know?
Yeah.
So Scott,
so
what kind of costs are companies looking at per worker sitting at home, just in general, like a range of numbers?
I mean, like, just the insurance rate?
Yeah, say I have 10 employees sitting at home, but I'm still having to pay insurance on them. What am I paying?
Yeah. So it depends on what type of work that you're in. So if you're an office work company, not much. Less than 1% of your payroll. Mm-hmm. If you're a manufacturing company, somewhere between 5 and 10% of your payroll. If you're a construction company, and this is going to vary a lot by state and sort of what insurance carrier you got, because rates vary a lot. But you could end up paying anywhere from 15% of your payroll, all the way up to, I've seen in the involuntary market, where no insurance carrier write you voluntarily. I think the highest rate I saw was like over 100% of your payroll. It was absurd, the rates. But it's the involuntary market. I think it was in the state of Georgia, for like a carpentry company, for a company that was doing residential carpentry work. If no
They were
insurance
paying
company would take
100% of their payroll?
yeah, the rate was over 100%. It was nutty. Really, really bad.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yes. So like it's going to depend on what type of work you're in. But if you are a carpentry company and you are paying your carpentry guys to stay at home, in some states, if you're in the involuntary market, you're be paying over 100% of that payroll for, again, not even doing work, straight to the insurance company. Certainly, workers' comp is a accepted cost of business, but you do want it to be a reasonable cost based on, actual exposure, actual risk. That's the basis of it. There's risk, and they have these complicated formulas to sort of charge you a fair price for that risk. All sorts of things go into it, but the idea is we are charging you for that risk, and the insurance companies are allowed to get a profit. That's fine. What they should not be allowed to do is to charge you significant premiums for idle time when there is no risk to them. That's just
that's off the rails.
thievery. Yeah. Now there are, at least in Illinois that I'm familiar with, there is a state statute they may run in trouble in, and that is to say, there's I'll give you a citation, 215 ILCS 4-456D states. This has to do with workers' comp premiums. Rates shall not be excessive, inadequate, or unfairly discriminatory. A rate is excessive if it is likely to produce a profit that is unreasonably high for the insurance provided. And it goes on to define the other stuff, but that's the pertinent one. The insurance industry has just released on their sort of their industry, the folks that make the rules, NCCI, has just released a FAQ on coronavirus, in which they have said, hey, we're going to charge you for idle time, and we're going to charge you on the type of work that the employees normally do. They're coming out right and saying it. And they are going to rip, to me at least, they're going to charge so much premium for absolutely zero risk.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Wow.
Like that,
No,
I think
it's not.
everybody can see that
What
is
a cash cow for them, though.
right. They're going to love this. And because these businesses are going to stay afloat, and they're going to try to keep paying their employees. That's the point of this government system. They've done. They've got forgivable loans.
I think, I think you've seen it. There was a Reddit on one of the companies who was doing this. I can't remember. But basically, they were slicing their employees' pay by whatever the benefit's going to be that we get handed. They're like, well, if the government's going to hand you $1,500, then we're going to have you not work for $1,500 worth of work.
Oh, damn! No, that's evil.
Wait, how does it work exactly? I'm sorry.
If you're part-time or you're hourly, they can just determine your hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
God.
So they can just say, well, if you're going to get that, we'll just have you work 20 hours instead of 40.
And then you get the bonus amount afterwards to keep you afloat. It's cold.
Yeah, it's pretty shady. Yeah.
I mean, so this is.
But I mean, and I think the thing that we've talked about too before is that how do you stop the essentially rent-seeking members of society from getting to this money? Right, because if all this money is a way for people to hand it to landlords for 3 months, what was the fucking point of it?
Yeah, I mean, the advantage of this plan that it has to go through the company. So the company has to pay. It's not just like the government giving companies money. This is the government basically reimbursing the company after they've paid their employees. So that money has to go from the company to the employees. And so, like, this is not a bad scheme for that. I'm sure people gain it somehow. I'm positive they will. I don't know how, but they will. But like in terms of like structuring this, it's not a bad structure. Because it means that the money has to go to an employee first, and then they can ask for it to be forgiven.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, and I think any system you put in there will be figured out how to be game. I mean, I think the response seems to be pretty good. Is there anything you don't like that you've seen, Scott?
It's all very new. So like this is just my initial impression. I've advised some clients.
To interrupt. Oh wait, I can't because Matt's on here and Matt doesn't know. Ashley wanted me to say congratulations, but
go
ahead, Scott.
Everyone knows now. It's fine.
Oh, everyone knows.
Lisa's pregnant. Yeah, okay. It's fine.
Oh man, congrats, man.
Thank you. She's
to both of you.
Do you guys know yet?
Yeah, we know. So I'll give you the basics. 3.5 months pregnant. It's going to be a girl. Her name is going to be Alice, after our favorite literary character. Middle name of Helene, after my grandmother who passed last year. Last name to be decided.
Is that true? Or are you actually going to decide between hers and yours?
We haven't figured it out yet. Because Lisa kept her name. Maybe. I mean, yeah, that's probably the obvious solution. Combine their names, create really bad combinations. So we've thought of the Shiz. Her last name is Schoenberger. My last name is Priz. So Shiz.
Don't do that.
Do it.
They only get worse.
Like,
how do you?
I will re-enroll in school just to make fun of your kid's last name.
Wait, hear me out. What do you think of the name Prison Burger? Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
No, it's not. It's terrible. or
I would just pick one. I agree. I would just put them in a hat and pull one out.
Yeah, I mean,
or you can make the argument that Priz is very easy to sign and it'll save him time throughout his whole life.
Lisa hated her last name because she had difficulty spelling it as a kid. So I got that going for me.
So there you go. Yeah, I think like making a kid use a hyphenated name is it seems like it would be a pain in the ass to sign stuff the rest of your life, like legal documents specifically.
Yeah,
that's true.
So we're not sure. We'll sort it out. We'll figure it out. But it's good. Like, we got the news the same, or the proper, sonogram news. Like, she'd taken a, at home pregnancy test, and we'd been trying, and so like this was not a surprise. But we got these sort of, the ultrasound pictures the same day 3 weeks ago that things went down. Tom Hanks got positive, NBA shut down. It's like that day, and it's like, this is a weird fucking day because everything went to hell. And also I'm having a kid that's hopefully going to be born in September.
No, that's
that
super
bananas.
Exciting. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that is very exciting.
So you're thinking about the NBA. I was listening to sports radio today, and what I like is that they've decided to just live in the 90s Bulls.
Yes.
And they were just doing all 90s bullshit all the time. Because it's Chicago. And it's like, we'll just pick the one era where we were kings and we'll stay with that since there's nothing else going on.
I mean, that was 670 the Chicago basketball.
670 the score is just replaying the 2016 Cubs playoffs in the evenings. Like, that's the right call. Those were some amazing, fun games. Even the divisional series against the Dodgers. Not against Dodgers, against the Giants. That was a great series, and I think the Cubs won it in 4 games, but all 4 of them were, or at least most of them were hard-fought games. Like tonight, the Cubs won 1-0 on a Javi Baez 8th inning home run. That's a good baseball game. That is a great playoff baseball game, and that 2016 Cubs run was. What do you think? Do you think they had a more dramatic World Series run the Sox did in 2005?
Then who?
than the White Sox did in 2005.
I mean, yours was more dramatic. You guys went to 7 games. Yeah.
Yeah, but all 4 of your games in the World Series were really close.
So
And
they were
your
all
division series.
one-run games. I believe all of them were.
Yeah, no, you're right. They were.
One of them went to 14 innings. But so the thing that your game 7 was one of the best games I've seen as far as baseball, though. Like,
Yeah.
that was a really great game.
But the other 6 games, not all of them were close. Like when the Cubs lose those 3 games in a row, they were not. It was not good.
Is that what happened in that?
Yes, the Cubs. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Cleveland wins the first one. I'm looking now. Cleveland wins the first one 6-0. That's not a good game. Cubs tie it up in the second game, 5-1. The third game is good. Cleveland wins 1-0, but like with 1 run in the 7th inning. That was a good game. Game 4 though, which I was having a Halloween party, I remember, and I was watching, half the time while dressed up in a costume. It was 7-2 Indians, and it was not close. Like they went up 3-1, and they just kept going. And like the Cubs went up 1-0, and they in the third went down 3-1. It wasn't close. It was a bad game. It was just a depressing game, and then everybody got really sad. The 5th game, at least, the 5th game was real nervous. The Cubs go up 3-1, and they hold on to win 3-2, and every inning for the Indians was like a troublesome inning. Like they were close, and like we hung on, but like it was super nervous. But we did. Like Lester won, and Chapman closed out the game with 2 2/3 innings. And the 6th game was a 9-3 Cubs victory. We just beat the tar out of them. Hurrah! But like, not all those games are great. Game 7 was the best game of baseball I've ever seen.
No, Game 7 was phenomenal.
Game 6, though, the Cubs go up 7-0 in the 3rd inning, and okay, it wasn't the most dramatic baseball game, even if every Cubs fan was super duper happy.
Right. So do
White
you think...
Sox, on the other hand, in their World Series, those were all crazy tight games. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, there was. I mean, my favorite was. I mean, there was the Pacific one, but I did like the one where Clemens got knocked out early, like that. Because I always hated Clemens, so seeing him get knocked out early was kind of nice. But
yes.
Do you think they're talking, if they go to November this year, if they try to fit in like a full season, that they'll just do neutral sites for the World Series? Because you can't play in Chicago in November.
I think there's no way they're playing a full season. There's no way they're starting before June. That's like
I don't
best
think
case
they
scenario.
play. I don't think they play this year. Like I don't feel like it's going to happen.
Likely, like that's probably more likely than not.
I mean, unless they're really willing to play empty stadium.
I think they would do that before canceling it altogether. Yeah. So they can still make money off of ads and TV and all that stuff.
It's where the real money is.
Right.
And like that's what the NFL will do. I'm betting.
Oh yeah, no question.
Like, at least unless the players start coming down ill, which they might, given how very close you have to be in football. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I mean, the thing is, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going on to I guess the NCAA football, they're kind of planning to start to do a spring season instead of fall. Like they're kind of already planning that.
Yeah, that's smart. Like,
because I mean, I don't think the NBA is going to. I mean, the NBA, to realistically finish the NBA season, you'd have to be able to come back by June, right?
Yeah, and it's just you can risk it by playing in empty stadiums, but I don't know. It's a risk to the players.
I know you guys don't follow wrestling, but have you followed that WWE is doing empty stadium shows?
Yeah, that just shows
Oh, I
how
didn't know
bad
that.
an idea it is. It's a Vince McMahon plan, which means it's equivalent to what Trump would do were in charge of wrestling. That just it's the worst idea. You're going
they
to
are
have
not pressuring wrestlers to go do it, from what
Sure.
I've heard. The main event was going to be this guy Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns has twice now beat leukemia, and they're like, you can't be in public when you have that kind of underlying issue, you know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That could
So
cause some real complications.
there was a time where Vince McMahon would have been like, well, you're fired then if you don't show up, I'm sure, but that is not happening now, at least.
That's good at least.
I mean, the only way you can do it, I think, is if they have a test that can see if you've had it, and you're no longer at risk for it. Then you can maybe have empty stadiums full of people that full of people that are immune already to it. And it may be that way more of us have been exposed to it than they think, because so many of us are without symptoms. And maybe you can do it that way if a ton of us have had it and a ton of NFL players have had it. And so it doesn't, what do you do? They've had it. They're probably
any
not
NBA
going to
player who
again.
came in contact with those two guys who had it, are at high risk, right?
Yeah, well, they probably had it. Do you know that NBA players who got diagnosed with it, the guy that lifted up microphones? Has he been?
What?
Yeah.
Do you know
the
that,
first
Matt?
NBA player
Do you know that story?
No, I'm not familiar with this story.
You tell it, Jason.
Yeah, so when it was first happening, the whole virus thing, and they were kind of warning people about it, the NBA player, who I can't remember his name offhand, he was making a big show of how he's not worried, and he grabbed all the reporters' microphones and by his hands and was touching everything. And then 2 days later, it turned out he had the virus.
What a fucking moron.
Yeah, literally, he was taunting the virus, and then 2 days later he got it.
His name was.
And you know what? Honestly, I would think all of his teammates, because one of his teammates did get it, did come down with it.
Yeah.
And I would think they would be super pissed at him.
Oh yeah.
So his name was Rudy Gobert. Plays for the Utah Jazz.
Yes, Gobert. Yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
He's an all-star center, and but he might be out of it already. And
well, because does it last the same amount of time as a regular flu?
It's
I think it depends.
2 weeks is from exposure to when it runs its course. So it takes a couple weeks. He might be done with it already. And is he safe to play with other people that have had the virus?
Is it like chickenpox or something?
Yeah, that's the way most viruses work. Once you've had a virus, your body makes the antibodies, and unless it mutates weirdly, which is rare, you got the antibodies and you're fine.
Yeah,
it's the way all viruses are fine. Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
So maybe that will allow them to play. If they're well, most of our players have had it and are okay. What do you do if Chris Bryant hasn't had it?
Right.
Send him to a sleepover with kids who have.
And it might kill him.
Yeah.
It's unlikely to. I mean, he's definitely not a high risk, but Anthony Rizzo, he's had cancer. I forget what he had, but he's been ill, and like it's
That's a
not.
good point. Yeah.
And there are there's players that are ill, and like it will kill some players. It just killed
Right.
the lead singer of Fountains of Wayne.
Wait, who did it kill?
The lead singer of Fountains of Wayne.
No, it
Oh.
did not.
Yes,
I
it
didn't hear
did.
about that.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Stacy's mom, Fountains of Wayne?
Chris Collinwood was 52 years old. He
Wow.
more recently he wrote all the songs for the show My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. All their
Mhm.
songs they wrote. Oh, maybe it was Adam Schlesinger. I'm sorry. Yeah, Adam Schlesinger. He was the songwriter. He wasn't the lead singer. He was the guitarist. So he's a founding member of the band's Fountains of Wayne, Ivy and Tinted Windows. Wrote all sorts of songs. He wrote the Thing You Do song, the movie.
Mhm.
Really?
That's
Wow.
his. So
Okay.
he was a really good writer for writing
Yeah.
songs that the other people would sing. And so
Right.
so he died today. He's 52 years old. From
That's a
the
shame.
virus. Yeah, and
Was he like immunocompromised in some way, or?
he's 52 years old. I mean, like, I don't know, but
Right.
like, I mean, the thing is, like, this shit is dangerous, and like,
Yeah.
you're more likely to die if you're immunocompromised, but sometimes it just doesn't give a fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it will most of the time leave healthy people alone, but let's say it kills 1% of otherwise healthy people.
Right.
That's a disaster. And if it's
Right.
killing like 10% of folks that are 75 plus, shit.
Right.
God help you, Florida, because
What?
you got a lot of those people there.
Right.
Well, then, and I have asthma, so I actually have my doctor. We don't have to go into work right now, but I do have a note from my doctor if they try to make us go in, saying, blah blah blah, he needs to work from home, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one thing it really messes with your lungs.
Yeah, so that's my biggest concern with it.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's pretty terrifying. And is there anything different for Lisa then, being pregnant, or
No.
how what have the doctors said?
It doesn't affect people differently. It's different than the Spanish flu of 1918. That shit was different. The Spanish flu was actually really bad for pregnant women and actually really bad for young people. We would be especially susceptible to it, even though we'll say youngish. Because what the Spanish flu did, it would basically drive your immune response into crazy overdrive, and that's what would kill you. And so, like, the better your immune system, the more likely you were to die. Help end World War One. It's called the Spanish flu because Spain wasn't involved in the war, and they're the only government that didn't censor the news of it. So they're the first country with news of this disease, and everyone's like, "My God, it's coming out of Spain." May have actually come out of Kansas hog farm, and then
that's what I
spread to a nearby army base.
Yeah.
No one's quite sure, but like, and
I heard that's another thing that helped spread it so quickly was the movement of soldiers.
Yep, and also just the you're living in a trench with no sanitation. Everybody has
doesn't help. Right.
Like, just
So that year, when the Spanish flu occurred, they did not suspend elections. And I know there's actually I was listening to a debate between people talking about that. Like, do you think elections should be suspended if it's still growing at the time?
No.
I think I think they should definitely encourage people to vote by mail and make that easier.
Yes.
I think that's probably the best option.
That's pretty much how I feel.
Yeah.
Illinois
Yeah,
and most states are already very good about that. I think you just have to like register ahead of time. But like,
Yeah, I vote
do
by
a
mail.
big,
I haven't gone
yeah.
in.
yeah. So like, they're not every state is so good. So Wisconsin has
Let's take a guess at
absentee
which
ballots.
ones aren't.
Yeah, right. So Wisconsin now
Right.
is a Democratic governor, but all the roles are made by Republicans. And so Wisconsin does have absentee ballot, but there's a gag to it. If you want to have an absentee ballot in Wisconsin, you've got to have a witness sign the absentee ballot. That's like signing a will, get a witness. And there was a lawsuit recently in court, and the lawsuit's like, you can't have. We need absentee ballot voting,
Mhm.
but you can't force people to mix right now. You can't have witnesses because we'll kill each other with the disease. Illinois, weirdly, so if you want a will in Illinois, like my lawyer hat on, you need to have two people witness your signature. It's like a special bit of magic. And obviously they sign and say, yes, I witnessed it. That's a real problem right now. A lot of people are thinking about death. A lot of people are needing wills put together. So Illinois actually reacted to this and now allows basically video conference call witnessing. It also allows
there you go.
notaries to also witness electronically. There's not much case law on this. There's a case out of Ohio where they did not allow that, but this is now legal. It's done by executive order by the Illinois governor. So this is totally on the up and up. And if you have a will, you've got to sort of finagle it to get the witnesses to sign everything, but you can do it and then send it all in. And now you can basically set up a Zoom video chat and have a witness done, which is
That's pretty
great.
cool. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Wisconsin is not doing that for its voting. Wisconsin is like, you need to have an in-person witness to witness the signing of your absentee ballot. Screw you, said the Republican judge.
Yeah.
So we're not always, not everyone is reacting sensibly to it.
Yeah.
Some folks are just, can I go on a hobby horse of mine right now?
Yeah,
Can we stop you?
That's what we're here for, man.
So my current hobby horse is jails and prisons, because it's getting really bad in there. Yesterday, the Sun-Times had a story. Chicago Sun-Times had a story. They've tested 200 people out of the 5,000 or so that are held in Cook County Jail in Chicago at 26 in California. Of those 200 people, 93 tested positive.
Whoa.
9 tested negative for the virus, and they're waiting the results of the other 100. Obviously, these are people that probably have symptoms, or have some cause to do it, but like that's real bad.
Yeah.
Now the thing about Cook County Jail is that most of the folks there have not been convicted of a crime. They've been arrested. They can't pay bail. That's why they're there. So like these are, legally speaking, innocent people that are being put into this petri dish of this plague. This plague that's going around. They're all just in the worst conditions. A bunch of prisons have basically low security prisons. You sleep in a dorm-like atmosphere. So think a big gymnasium with a bunch of cots and stuff that everybody sleeps in. That's really bad. Overcrowded prisons are really, really bad. Federal jails are now isolating everybody in their cells for 14 days. This is all too late. Now, the Cook County did release some people. They released 400 out of the 5,400 people that were there. That was way too little. They needed to do this weeks ago before it spread everywhere. Now you've got a ton of people that have all been infected with this and are going to get ill over the next week or so. A lot of them, honestly, you'd have a lot of difficulty to release from this point because they have no place to go, because we use Cook County Jail as a mental institution. It's the biggest mental hospital maybe in the world. One of the biggest in terms of the amount of just people that they hold. And so they have a significant portion of the population that they have nowhere to go. And you would have to fund social services a lot more. But there are people that would have places to go, and you needed to get those people out weeks ago. And our sheriff and our governor and our Cook County Board president and our state's attorney's office chose not to do this quick enough. The public defender's office, obviously filed motions and were like, "Get these people out! You're going to kill them," and they
Right.
were largely ignored.
Yeah,
In federal
that's
court,
gonna be a mess.
yeah. So in federal court, we have a similar place. The MCC. It's downtown Chicago. It's where people are held temporarily before their trials. If you're going to be put in trial in Chicago for a federal crime. The federal public defenders, God bless them, were like, "Get these people out! You're going to kill them." And a state's assistant United States attorney, God damn him, got up in court and said, "Coronavirus is not a get out of jail free card." God damn that goddamn fancy pants attorney straight to hell. Straight to hell. Like, he's condemning a lot of, again, legally innocent people to this.
Right.
Like, you're going to kill them. And your response is that we have to, sort of, this is not how things work. This is our carceral state system. And these people, according to our system, have been placed into this jail. They don't get out, even though they're going to be in these awful, awful conditions. It's the way all of law enforcement is thinking about it. Like, no one has done a mass release.
Yeah.
There's been little releases, and they're sort of tiptoeing around it. But no one has ever thought, maybe we need to get everybody that's not a public safety hazard out of there. I mean, you make the obvious exceptions. Something that's dangerous. Sure.
Yeah. Isn't it too late for that now, though? Unless, barring like testing every single prisoner before deciding if they get to be released, then that's going to be a whole. That's just a nightmare in itself.
Yes. So at this, like 3 weeks ago, you wanted to get everybody out of there, right? Like, you wanted to move real fast.
Right.
You wanted to have, So what do you do now? Now, you're right.
So, like, the time to act has already passed on that, it seems like.
Right. So, like, what do you do now? So, like, if you had an ability to test quickly, if you get somebody a test and like same day results instead of like the 8 days or whatever it takes right now, you could do that. You could be like, okay, you haven't been exposed. I'm going to test you, and if you're free of it, and if you have some place to go, and you're not a danger to society, we're going to get you out.
Yeah.
But what do we do now when we don't have that? And like, if you have to wait 8 days, and odds are they're going to be exposed because there's a fire, a disease fire, pandemic raging in those jails right now. And if you don't have it yet, you're going to have it. I don't know. Like, all I can say is our elected officials, and they were warned. There were people that were hopping up and down saying, we know this is going to happen. And, the usual suspects, like Chicago Bond Fund. And they didn't listen. The Chicago Bond Fund is a great group that basically raises money and pays people's bonds to get them out of jail. Wonderful, wonderful organization.
And what was the name of it again?
Money.
Chicago Bonding Group?
Chicago Bond Fund.
Okay.
I'll give you the website because they're great. It's real simple. It is chicagobond.org. And all they do is they raise money. You give them money. It's like a magical spell. You give these people money, and people are magically released from jail. It's astonishing. Like, you get to buy people's freedom. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. They don't have enough money.
Scott. It's starting to sound like you want to see the abolition of the bond system.
Yes, I do. Almost like I want to end convict labor, which still exists, which is slavery by any other name.
Right.
My favorite thing is convict labor. We've got folks in Texas and New York. Texas, I don't think they're being paid. I'm not sure that. In New York, they're being paid pennies per hour. to make hand sanitizer. Here's my favorite thing about that.
Oh,
The
geez.
prisoners who are making it for us are not given hand sanitizer, and they have to
Of
pay
course
for soap.
not. Jesus.
It's obscene, and like
Yeah.
all of it
Mhm.
is just it's
Wow.
monstrous. The entire
Yeah.
carceral state,
It's
and of course it's
mind-boggling.
America, so it's all centered on minority populations. You know, like that's who we target with this stuff, and like it's real bad. And the next week or so, it's going to get real bad. Rikers in New York it's rife in it. They're having, I forget if I think they've had, I don't know if they've had riots yet. They had riots in Italy. The prisons rioted because the disease was rampant. People weren't getting medical care. And I think there was like 10 or 11 prisons rioted because,
Not
they're
surprising.
at the bottom of the totem pole. They're not going to get aid. And
Right,
when our
yeah.
hospitals fill up and we have to make those choices of who gets the ventilators, who gets the beds, who gets the care they need. And this thing, when it gets bad, if you're one of those people that gets bad enough for, you either get a ventilator and maybe you get better, or you die.
Right.
And we all know where those resources are going to go, by and large. Like,
Not
To
to
rich
prisons.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
like they're already buying up
Jeez.
the ventilators. And to Florida. Florida is
Yeah.
getting all the aid they asked for from the president, while our state and other blue states are not.
Right.
Why is that, Scott?
I don't know. They actually admitted this. A senior advisor said, well, Florida's pretty important to our president's reelection campaign, so the president
Right.
pays attention to what Florida wants. They said this in a Washington Post article. Like, they just
Ridiculous.
admitted, yes, Florida is getting what it wants because he wants to win re-election. Joke's on him, because they didn't shut down the state. It's going to be so bad, there's going to be nothing they can do. Like, like
It's
they
not
went.
really on them. The joke's more on all the people who will die from it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, well, joke's on President Trump. Like, he's going to, send them all this aid, but because the governor was listening to him, and the governor's like, I'm not going to shut it down unless President Trump tells me to. It's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be
Yikes.
a disaster. Like, it was a few days ago. They still hadn't shut the beaches down. Like, they were the governor from Jaws.
Yeah, they basically
Fuck.
just let spring break play out, right?
Yeah. Eventually, they let county by county shut it down. So this is a great picture whereby there's a beach at the county border, and one section of the beach is deserted, and the other one is just full of spring breakers.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like, even if those kids don't get ill, which most of them won't, they're still going to carry it home. And they're going to spread the disease and kill other people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't go visit grandma after you went on spring break.
Because the
Right.
worst thing is about this disease is we're all in this together. And how well we
Right.
do in Chicago is affected by how well Florida does and how well those dumb frat boy spring breakers do. Like, we are all like, we are affected by their decisions, and like, we need to work together, and
Right.
we're
Work
not
together. That sounds like globalism to me.
Don't it? And
By work
that
together,
is-
you mean we all need to go buy guns, right?
this is not the apocalypse anybody pictured, like, everybody that bought guns and stuff, they're actually not doing well in this, because this is not, they expected to have to, like, I don't know, fight off roving bicycle gangs or something. But
Right.
instead,
Right.
it's just like waiting and seeing things get bad, and maybe having a family member get ill. Like,
I mean, the society is not collapsing from this. Like the economy might,
Right.
things like that might happen, but
yeah,
there's just not going to be
Yeah.
enough death. I mean, if society didn't collapse from the Black Plague and from the Spanish flu, as you mentioned, and things like that, like there's no estimates that this is going to kill enough people where that would happen.
yeah. Oh, can I tell a Black Plague story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Black Plague. I'm gonna tell. So my first story has to do with the death of a princess.
Real quick,
Um,
Black Plague occurred multiple waves, right?
Yes. So I know
Over
best-
several hundred years, I think, right?
So the Black Plague hits England in 1348. The last instance of it was, I think, in the 1660s. Although nothing was bad as the first wave. Initially, it would come in every 7 years, and don't know why.
Is
just
it,
what.
yeah. Could it have been different viruses every time, and just because no one ever figured out how to wash their fucking hands, then it just kept happening?
I don't know. Like it just it's just what we experienced. People think that it was carried by fleas that lived on a specific type of rat that was eventually wiped out from a different species of rat from the New World, which was like 1600s. But let me tell you the death of a princess. So she was the daughter of Edward III of England. And England at this point, 2 years before, has just won the Battle of Crécy against France. This is 100 Years' War time. And so like England is on top of the world. They're kicking France's ass. They've got a giant empire going. And the plague has come. But it's only come to France. The English Channel is so far acting as a giant moat to defend England. And England believes that is especially blessed by God, that they are so righteous that they are immune from this thing that is killing a third of France. So the year is 1348. And Joan of England is the daughter of Edward III and his wife, Philippa of Hainault. She is betrothed to a prince in the Spanish region of Castile. Castile is northeast Spain. It borders at that point English-held region of Aquitaine, the city of Bordeaux and its surrounding area. So like she's being shipped off to marry a guy, the prince from Castile, because it's the border country, and there was an alliance between the English and the Castilians against the hated French. So to get there, they sent her from London, and they send her down to the English-held city of Bordeaux, southwest France, sort of a stopover, and they're going to Bordeaux, which is the great big, still is, the great big wine producer of France. I mean, French wines, that's the classic French wine region. Weirdly enough, it was for hundreds of years held by the English, thanks to Eleanor of Aquitaine. That's another story from 100 years before this. So her big fancy royal party. So this is a wedding party. So you think fancy jewels, fancy dresses, fancy everything. 150 meters of imported silk, suits of red velvet. Just, England at its medieval height sent down for a wedding. And she goes to the city of Bordeaux. And they're met at the docks by the mayor. And the mayor's like, for the love of God, do not disembark. The city has been hit by the plague. We're dying. And the English, in their arrogance and assumption that they were immune, they go into Bordeaux. And pretty much immediately, members of the entourage begin falling and dying. Joan flees. Joan's the princess. Joan flees to a small village called Remo. I guess it's not Italian. I don't know how to pronounce it in French. But it doesn't matter. She catches it and she dies like in a day. And she dies.
Real
and
quick,
the English
let's jump in here. How did you die from the plague? Like, what was the thing?
Oh shit, bad. So it's called the Black Death because of it's got so many names: the pestilence, the Great Bubonic Plague, the Great Plague, the Great Mortality. It sprang up. It first hits the world in 1343, 5 years before this. Travels probably on ships, on rats. Hits Europe, kills 30 to 60% of Europe's population. So it's a plague, and the reason that it is, you get these terrible black boils that spring up all around your body. They're called buboes. You get swollen lymph nodes in the groin, neck, and armpit, and eventually just sort of conquers and kills you. You get acute fever, vomiting. Yeah, acute fever, vomiting the blood, and all the things of bacterial disease that eventually get you. It's terrible, and no one was immune. The best you could do, if you're rich, you could maybe get better odds for the countryside, but not always. Joan fled the countryside, and it didn't matter a lick. It's what's happening now. If you own a house in the country, you are fleeing there. There's a town in Idaho that has crazy high proportions of the coronavirus, and that's because it's a resort town. It's where all the rich people have their summer homes, and that's where they all fled with the disease. And so that is where it's breaking out in Idaho right now, is all these rich people's resort towns. And, that is all these places in upstate New York. Everybody fled New York City, right? They're all going to the Hamptons, or they're going someplace else, and they're all bringing the disease with them. And so, like our current plague, it's actually, at least at first, a rich person's disease because it's spread via airline travel. So it spread, sort of international business people, and they all came back to the cities. And then when it got bad, they all fled to these little towns, and those little towns, say this little town in Idaho, it's then spreads to the rest of the state. But initially, the first wave was all sort of city international travel based, and now it's beginning to spread everywhere. And it doesn't discriminate. It's going to hit every section of society. Nobody is blessed from God. Nobody gets to escape this disease. And the idea that some of the red states had that this was an urban problem, their leader, they're sort of their preachers and they were politicians that were saying this, and that hubris, it was always going to bite them in the ass. This makes no exception. It doesn't care about politics. It doesn't care about
Scott,
gender.
If you just send in $50 to Jason's Feast Ministries, you will be 100% protected from the disease.
Yeah. There is a code.
What is Alex? Matt, what is Alex Jones trying to sell that cures it? Like it's not mercury, but it's like something like mercury.
I'm not surprised.
Silver, wasn't it?
I didn't know that he was doing.
Yeah, it's like silver pills or some shit.
Yeah.
He's always sold colloidal silver, which is basically it's been used as like a snake oil thing for a long time.
Yeah, that's the stuff. Yeah,
it's like suspended silver particles in some sort of liquid. I'm not surprised he's getting in on the coronavirus strain. I didn't know what he was doing though.
Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, of course. Fucking scumbag like that.
So let me give you a code to the Black Plague. So it hits in 1348 and hits England every 7 years after, right? Fast forward to the year 1391. Again, 30 to 50% of your town has been wiped out. At that point, England was still under medieval serfdom. If you were a peasant, you were owned basically by the lord. You had to work his land. That's how you survived. Trouble for those medieval lords is that you suddenly have a lot less peasants. And
Right.
they got themselves together and decided we're worth more than that. And so by 1351, they're actually getting higher wages. They're actually getting wages. And England has to pass its first labor law. It's a terrible labor law
Wow.
that sets prices for labor at 1346 wages. They try to basically institute a wage freeze. Doesn't work.
So like pennies or some shit, an hour or a day or something.
Whatever it was in 1346, the currency is insane because it's English, so don't try to make any sense of it. There's shillings, there's pence, there's tuppence. None of it. I mean, like, the currency.
2 tuppence an hour.
I mean, the currency in Harry Potter. Doesn't make any sense. Galleons and all that stuff. The reason it doesn't make any sense is because she's making fun of British medieval currency. That it doesn't make any sense. And so, like, people have tried to make it make sense, and it's not going to make sense. She's having a laugh. Like, Rowling is making fun of British society, not trying to build a logical world. She's making fun of it. But the important thing is they just froze the wages. They even passed laws that said, because peasants started making more money, they started eating fancier food, wearing fancier clothing. Parliament responds by passing laws that ban non-noblemen from eating certain types of food and from wearing certain types of clothes. Doesn't work, of course. You can't fight these economic forces. It's too much. As the decades pass, there's a new king, Richard II, the boy king. They start passing what's known as poll taxing, which is basically a flat tax. That is to say, every person, no matter how rich they were taxed the same amount of money. So it wasn't even a percentage. It was as if the United States government came back and said, okay, everybody in America, you now owe us $10,000. If you're Bill Gates or Scott Priz, whatever. And they passed a series of these. They got more and more onerous because the war was going badly in France. It's a 100 years war, actually 120 years, and it wasn't continuous. There's a bunch of different fights, but there were wars. It was going terribly, and so they taxed the peasantry. 1391, the peasants eventually get fed up. They realize how much power they have, and they refuse to pay the taxes. And they basically form together into a mob in southeast England, in Kent and Essex, chase the tax collectors out of town, and decide to march on. Their theory bearing, the king has awful advisors. The king at this point is 14 years old, Richard II. And so they decide, well, he's got awful advisors. I'm sorry, it's 1381. Not 91. My apologies. So 1381. The king has awful advisors. We just need to go and kill his advisors. And then Richard will be governed by good people. So they march on London. And the trouble for the king is that his army is up north, guarding against the Scots. So it was like 50,000 people marching on London, medieval London. And he's got no army. He's got like 100 guys that are guarding him, but that's it. They get to London Bridge. They get to the south part of London, near where Greenwich is. And the king meets them on a boat. And the king is like, I'd like to negotiate with you. The peasants are like, would you mind getting off your boat? And the king is like, nope, you kill me. And he runs across the river, hides back in the tower. They meet the next day. They get into London. And they immediately start looting and burning everything. They burn down the palace of his uncle, his chief advisor, John of Gaunt. They burn down the legal records. He meets with them, and he's like, what do you want? And the peasants are like, they basically demand our Declaration of Independence. They demand, accepting the king, equality for all men. Like, straight up equality under the law. 14th Amendment, Declaration of Independence, right there in the Peasant Rebellion and their demands. And they also demand that the church give up its wealth. The king,
that's where they made their mistake. The church has more power than the king himself.
Well, I mean, it would eventually. Well, this is England, so actually, the churches. Eventually, the king got greedy. Henry VIII, well, I mean, it was true they were very powerful, but that power did them in because Henry VIII later on got greedy and just took all that wealth when he formed the Church of England. But that's getting ahead of us. So those are their demands. Right. And Richard II says, okay, that's fine. We just go home and then I will agree to your demands. I'll proclaim it. And they're like, maybe. I mean, while he's negotiating with them, they actually break into the Tower of London kill a bunch of his advisors. There's like separate mobs. One of the mobs breaks into Tower of London, taunt his mother, and Richard is like, oh shit, I gotta go. He runs away to Westminster, actually prays in a Westminster Cathedral, and he agrees to meet with him the very next day. And so there's this scene, what is now central London, but at that point it was just like an open field near St. Bartholomew's Hospital. It still exists. And the king and like 10 guys stare down, 20,000 people. And the leader of the Peasant Rebellion, a guy by the name of Wat Tyler, goes out to meet the king. And he's very friendly with these, like, my brother king, good news. We all fight for the same thing, and soon enough we'll have 20,000 more of the commons to fight for you. And the king's like, and a really weird scene happens. The mayor of London, there's a bunch of different accounts on what exactly happens. But the mayor of London decides that either Wat Tyler has not shown enough respect to the king, or under different accounts that Wat Tyler tries to stab a bodyguard for some reason, or maybe Wat Tyler like drank some water and spat on the ground too close to the king. Different stories. But we do know what happens next, which is the mayor of London gets really mad and stabs the leader of the peasants. Wat Tyler. And this is, mind you, imagine the scene. You got king, like 10 bodyguards, 10, 20, 30,000 angry peasants. Wat Tyler is mortally wounded, but he runs off on his horse and begins screaming towards this angry mob. Betrayed, betrayed, treachery. He then falls off his horse, is dragged to a hospital, where he dies. So we got King Richard, few bodyguards, one of whom is the mayor of London, who is to stab their leader, and an angry mob that has just heard treachery, 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 betrayed. And the one genuine act of courage that Richard did in his life, rides out in front of his bodyguard, all alone, rides out in front of the angry mob, and shouts to them, basically, people, I am your captain. I am your leader. Follow me, and I will give you those freedom that I promised you. But for now, you all have to go home. So follow me. So the king and his bodyguard, basically, after murdering their leader, convinced this mob to go home. And they sort of shuffle them south down London Bridge and actually get them home. Filled with promises of equality, end of serfdom, and that the promises the king made to them would be kept. And as soon as they get home... How did that end up? I'm sorry?
How did that end up?
As soon as they get home, the king immediately betrays them. He calls his army in and has them hunt down all of the ringleaders. There was a priest by the name of John Ball. He had a famous rhyming couplet. Let me find it for you. It's actually pretty good. John Ball, he basically, Wat Tyler and John Ball were the two main leaders of it. There may have also been a third leader, Jack Straw, but he may have been fictional. But John Ball gives his open-air sermon before they meet with the king at Blackheath in London. When Adam delved and Eve span, who then was the gentleman? From the beginning, all men by nature were created alike, and our bondage or servitude came on by the unjust oppression of naughty men. For if God would have any bondman from the beginning, he would have appointed who should be bond and who free. This is the Declaration of Independence. All men by nature were created alike. Like, that's friggin' Thomas Jefferson there, right? And therefore I exhort you to consider that now the time is come, appointed to us by God, in which ye, if ye will, cast off the yoke of bondage and recover liberty. This is the seeds of sort of what we consider traditional Anglo-American liberty from sort of a progressive state. It's right there in the Peasant Rebellion. But Richard doesn't buy it. He hunts down John Ball. He is, tried for treason. He actually gets trial. Most of them didn't. And he is hung, drawn, and quartered and
Wow.
tortured. King Richard, the 14-year-old boy, watches it. Head stuck on London Bridge, quarters of his body, put to 4 different towns as a warning. Richard betrays them all. He travels to the southeast of England, where it all started, and he says, not only are you not going to be free, you're going to be oppressed even harder than you were before. So there. And he does everything he can to crush their goals. And it works.
Wow.
For a while. Richard doesn't have a happy ending. Richard becomes a greedy tyrant. In 1399, his uncle, John of Gaunt, who's the guy that had the army, dies, and Richard decides that he's just going to take his land. It's not going to pass to his son, Henry. Henry gets really mad. Henry, at that point, is in exile in France for complicated reasons. And his cousin, Henry, it's a big plot point in the Shakespeare Richard II play, why he's exiled, but it's complicated and sort of dumb. But he just sails back from France, and he has like a couple hundred people. But because Richard was so hated for so long, just thousands of people join Henry. And Richard, who at that point was off in Ireland killing people, he comes back to England, and there's this giant rebellion suddenly. And he's like, come on me, let's go fight. And the army just won't. He can't get anybody to join him. And so eventually him and a few guys, they try to get a boat, but the boat gets pushed back. He's stuck in Wales, and he doesn't even fight for his crown. He basically gets captured by Henry and surrenders without a fight. And that's a year later. He's put in a prison. He gives up the throne to his cousin, and a rebellion springs up a year later in his name, and Henry's like, well, that's too dangerous. Let's just starve the king to death, which is what they do. And so Richard II is just, that's traditional story. That he's just, they stop feeding him food.
Wow.
But the joke was on them, was on Richard in the long run, because there was no holding it back. Serfdom within a couple of decades is abolished as a legal thing. Like, it's eventually a court decides, but like it just, those economic pressures were too much. There were too few peasants, and killing the peasants, ironically, just made things worse because you needed them. You needed their labor.
Right.
That was the basis of the economy, was serf labor. And all those noble lords and ladies, turns out they weren't necessary. What was necessary were the people that actually did the work.
Who would have thought that?
Funny
amazing.
thing, yeah.
I think there's a lesson there for these days. I'm a lawyer, right? I am technically an essential business. I'm not going to my office. The courts are closed. I've got a lawsuit to file, but I can't do it. I'm not helping anything run right
Is a
now.
lawsuit against me?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I could.
But it
I
could
don't think
be.
I could ethically file that lawsuit against a good friend of mine.
Yeah, that would be pretty fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's.
Oh, I'll just
But,
serve
like,
Jason. I'm
I'm
seeing
not
him
keeping-
Thursday. That's fine.
I'm not keeping anything going. Other people are keeping things going as best as we can. And they're, for the most part, people that are not as well paid as me, not as respected as me, or at least as much as I ever get respect. But, like,
But yeah, your profession. I guess.
like I'm a white collar professional. Like I am given more respect from society than your bagger at a grocery store. And those are the folks that are having to keep things going and are being exposed to this shit and are going to catch this stuff. And that's not even going to like the nurses and stuff. Like, they're the folks that are keeping this going. They're the ones that are going to be exposed to this, and they're the ones that are going to suffer. I get to hang out in bed all day with my dog. That's my lawyer's life right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky enough that I get to work from home. I spend a good portion of that watching movies.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I work the overnight shift, man, and once you hit 2 a.m., there's not that much happening at my job. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's necessary for you to be there and for someone to be there at the time
It's necessary because they promise 24-hour service. You know what I mean? Like, they have to do it because that's part of the contract they sign with customers. Is like, oh, we're open 24/7 to help you. That's fine if you want to pay me that, all that money to take 4 phone calls for the next 2 hours. That's on you. I'll sit here and play online poker until I get a call. That's not my issue.
Right.
Is that a
They
good
knew
deal?
what they were doing.
Is that a good deal?
What's
Like,
that?
is that promise, like the extra business of the promise, worth the cost of you? I wonder if it is. Maybe it
Oh,
is.
1,000%. Because you got to think
Yeah, I'm sure they
at night in
ran
our
the
areas.
numbers before they did that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a $1 billion company, Scott. The Hub Group's like a giant company.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's worth it.
But so, I mean, you're employing at night. I work with 6 people, and the other side of the company has 4 to 5 people working. I mean, how many businesses did you bring in saying you're 24/7 and
Yeah.
you pay what? Like, what is that? Like, let's say maximum 20 salaries under $70K a year. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right, when you're talking the scale of your company, that's a good bargain. And like they know this and they understand that, yeah, their employees are able to slack off. God bless.
and that's the struggle that a lot of these companies have, especially with lower tier workers. Is like, there's a book regarding this, regarding basically how upper management people in positions of power are hoarding work and not leaving enough work for people below them, which basically makes people below them expendable. Because if you only need to take, if somebody only needs to work essentially, like even when I work days, right, I could get my work done on days 4 to 5 hours pretty easily. But you need to sit there for 8 hours because they're paying you for, right? So you do a couple things and then you look at your phone and then you do a couple things and then you text that. Then you do, I mean,
Sure.
what do they
Yeah.
want
Right.
done? And they're always like, well, if you have nothing to do, just let us know. If you ever do that, they get
You're
so
an idiot.
pissed at you. It's ridiculous.
Right, because
Like,
they
the
don't want the
last
hassle.
thing your manager wants to hear is that I have nothing to do, I'm bored.
Right, like, because then they've got to think of something for you to do.
Exactly.
Oh God,
Yeah.
the So Superstore has had a plot like this, whereby for various reasons, people have good reason not to work with one coworker, because she tried to kill this woman's cat at that woman's wedding day, because she's insane.
Mhm.
So people don't want to work with her
Mhm.
because that's right, because they're afraid she's going to try to kill them, and so she's like, why don't you work with me today? And of course, she has no idea what to give this woman to do in her office because, she's doing manager things and even she doesn't have to do that much. But like
Mhm.
and this woman is just sitting across from me like, what would you like me to do? I want to help. And it's just, it's maddening.
And weirdly, it is becoming a thing for me that, I mean, I just started it. Like, they just switched our shift to like all the way overnight. But it is becoming a thing where I'm like, I'm starting to look at other stuff to do because I'm like, I don't want a job where I'm not doing anything for 5 hours. Like,
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm paid pretty well where I am and that sort of stuff, but I'd rather do 40 hours of work where I'm working than 15 hours of work and then filling the rest of the time with whatever bullshit.
Whoa. Let's not go crazy. Let's not say 40 hours, Jason. You want a good bargain. Like, let's say, I don't know, 25 to 30 hours of work and being paid for 40.
That would be fantastic. Well, I mean, I legitimately, I would be so in favor of a 32 to 36 hour work week. It's ridiculous. But
and
that's never going to happen.
And the thing is, like, it's more efficient. Like, we actually get more work done with this 6-hour day. Like, but
oh yeah,
for various reasons, we don't think it's a good
it's so
idea.
different that we do 12. So I do 12-hour shifts.
Oh boy!
Every single study you've ever seen tells you basically after 6 hours, employees start making mistakes.
Yeah,
but they're still having us work 12-hour shifts.
I mean, so like
for whatever fucking reason.
So they make lawyers do this. Young lawyers, young associates work 14-hour days, get the billable hours in,
Mm-hmm.
And fuck, like, first off,
you do like, what is it, 100 billable hours a week or something you have to have?
No. 50. So you want standard practice is 2,200 hours of billing per year for 50 weeks. So if you're talking 2,200, that's about 42 hours of billable hours, but not every hour you spent is billable. So you're talking 70, 80, 90 hours a week at work to get those billable hours. And you're gonna don't become a lawyer. That works at a big firm.
Better Call Saul made it look so good, though.
that was the most realistic portrayal of law that I've seen.
With what's her name, putting in all those extra hours, is basically spending all that time just reading through binders and shit.
Yeah. So if you can't get a job at a regular firm, what you can do to pay the bills as a young lawyer is you can do doc review. And doc review is where you're going through large amounts of discovery in big civil litigation between companies. And what companies will do to overburden the other side is they will send incredibly responsive amounts of discovery and tell them, good luck, see if you can find what you're looking for in this. And so they have to do doc
It's
review.
like an intentional strategy, right?
Yeah. And so what they do is they send the stuff, and so they hire young lawyers to pay them $25 an hour. It's not bad pay. It's not great, but it'll keep your lights on. And you will go through these docs. You will find keywords, and you will try to find something that is responsive to what they're looking for. And it's hell.
And I believe Q just jumped on, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. Q, are you there? Oh, we need to hop on the voice message.
Oh, yeah.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, Q will figure it out. He'll be fine.
God bless him. But yeah, doc review is hell. Many lawyers' lives are hell.
You're just fighting to become a partner, right? That's the only goal there is.
Yeah, but they've
and
rigged
then
that game
just
too.
Shuffle your work off, right?
So if you're in doc review, you're fighting not being a partner. You're fighting to get an associate job. Once you become an associate, you're fighting to become what's known as of counsel, which is like a fancy associate. If you're of counsel, what you're trying to fight for is to become a partner. But there's two types of partnerships: one that means something and one that doesn't. The one that doesn't mean anything, you get the title partner, but you're not an actual partner because you don't get the money of partners. What you really want is to become an equity partner, which is to say you own the law firm, or at least a part of it. But those they don't really give out. What you're fighting for are meaningless titles.
Scott, I've seen 100 movies, and everyone makes partner. Everyone.
Yep. It just so eventually, if you work for most law firms and they like you, you will become a partner, maybe, probably, but it won't be the one that counts.
What does that mean?
The one that counts.
You just have equity, but not voting equity, sort of thing.
No, you don't get equity.
Right.
They have,
and that's the one that counts when you actually own a portion of the country.
That's
company,
what you
right?
want.
Or
You want
firm.
a percentage of the firm. You want to be an owner,
Right.
and they will say you're a partner, but you're not an equity partner, which means you get a raise and a fancy business card and a better title, and you're not doing as crazy hours because you're not doing the grunt legal work. Once you become a partner like that, you're no longer practicing law, you're practicing business. And the way you advance up the ranks of partners is by bringing in business, not by practicing law.
Can someone explain to Q how to do the voice link thing?
Maybe.
What did you guys do? Because, I created the server. I don't know what you clicked to get on it.
You have to click on voice channels.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends on if he's
like
on
the super genius computer person. Like, take it to
It depends
her and
on
have
if
her
he's
do it.
on. It depends if he's on mobile or desktop. How he's supposed to do that.
No,
If he's on mobile,
I'm-
he should click the little menu on the upper uh,
Oh yeah.
upper left-hand side, and that'll bring up all the channels. Oh yeah, Sky. That's a good explanation, I think.
So Scott, actually, have both of you guys watched Better Call Saul?
Only on Netflix, so I'm not up to date.
I'm not caught up, no. But I don't want to ruin it for Matt.
Yeah, that's dumb.
No, I'm not. I'm caught up.
Ruin away.
Okay. So the guy who's
What?
partner with Chuck, the
Yes.
younger
Oh,
guy
yeah,
who
I
basically
mean-
inherited from his dad, is what it's
Mhm.
implied. Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Yo,
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Q?
Q,
what up, Scott? How are you doing?
I'm great. It's good to hear from you. How are you doing?
It is amazing to hear from you, sir. Soon to be proud papa out here.
Thank you. Soonish. It's in September, so I've got we've got a long way to go. And like,
Yeah,
It
you got
hasn't-
time. Time for the world to almost end and then not end and be
Mhm.
all right again. Fine.
maybe we'll find out.
Right,
you know.
maybe. Exactly. A healthy maybe. That's all most people have is maybe.
Yeah, like this might work out, but you
yeah,
know,
man.
it's going to be giving birth is really weird right now because, you know, is your partner allowed in? The answer is probably not right now. You know, and you know, and you got the
That's
kid.
not
I don't know how it's going to work. Hopefully,
Yeah,
work better than
extra-
it is now.
Yeah, that's,
Hope so. Yeah.
that's all good. Yeah, this is who knows what this is.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, we already talked about the whole wrestling thing and the WrestleMania being in front of no people and everything.
Did they do that?
Yeah, that's this week. Saturday and Sunday, Q, is it?
They're still doing it.
Maybe so.
If you guys are recording.
I don't think they're
Yes, they are most definitely still doing it. He is
We are
not.
recording. Yes, you are on.
Yeah,
you
this
are-
is recording.
Yeah,
Oh,
like this is being preserved forever.
Oh, this is being recorded?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, don't
All right.
admit to any
Just
crimes.
in case. We'll see.
I'm glad
Yeah,
I
don't
didn't-
admit to crime, exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
like
I didn't sign on aggressively masturbating.
yeah. I mean, it's like I should warn you. If you were to say you're about to commit a serious crime of fraud or violence, I have a duty as an attorney to call the cops. Like that's my ethical rules.
I'll find
But shouldn't everybody have that, right?
Oh yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I remember I think I was outside somewhere and just with random people joking about abusing children and a lady
Yep,
said like
that sounds right.
like I'm a licensed reporter. I can't even
Yeah.
joke with you about
Yeah,
it or
it-
something. And I was like,
it-
I didn't really
Wow.
investigate. I was just like, oh, this lady's kind
It
of
depends on the profession, but if you're like a sort of like if you're in the sort of care industry and that sort of thing, I'm not using the right words, but if like you are a person that is in certain positions of power, say a principal hears about child abuse, he's got a duty to report it. I think teachers do as well. There's a lot of child care.
Well, that's how I got popped. Did you know about that, Scott?
No.
Yeah. So
What happened?
I went to Jewel with the kids, and Ashley was at home, and DCFS showed up to talk to Ashley,
Oh,
and
fuck.
I didn't even know this. So me and Robert had gotten in an argument at Jewel over like a candy bar or some stupid shit, and he was like screaming the whole way home. So I'm like yelling at him when we come in the door, like stop yelling, calm down, blah blah blah. And then there's actually like DCFS is here, by the way. So what
Why
had
did they-
happened was 2 days before that, I brought Robert to school, and he had a bruise on his eye from whatever we were wrestling, or me and him and Tyler were wrestling. And the teacher asked him as she's taking him out of the car, "How did you get the bruise?" And Robert answered, "Dad hit me."
Fuck.
And when he said it, I'm like, "Oh shit, that's probably not good." But I
No.
didn't think anything past that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. Teacher's got a duty.
but that is why is why they were there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the magic words. Like kid says, and kids say strange things. And DCFS, I think, probably gets this. and like teachers
Mhm.
probably get this.
Oh, the lady that we worked with was not. It wasn't like some shit where she was like hunting for like trying to.
Yeah.
She did the things you should do. Like, and one of the things I found, some of the stuff I found interesting that they did. Number one, they checked all the pets to see if the pets were nourished and taken
Yep.
care of, or if they looked like they,
that's-
so, and like they checked if like
That's
fire stuff was set up, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And like that, basically your kid said the magic words, to the teacher, and the teacher
Yeah.
was like, "I now have a legal duty, to do this, and this is going to suck."
And the lady from DCFS said she even talked to the school, and the school's like said wonderful things about us as parents. She's like, this is a thing we have to do.
Right. And so probably it
Right.
was an easier visit because she probably gets a lot of these, and like
Right.
knows to check beforehand, and like
Mhm.
like when she gets they're good people from the school, she's probably not going to look quite as hard as if the school is like, yeah, lots of red flags here. Good luck.
But
Yeah.
I will say it is terrifying in that Dostoevsky sort of way, where like
Mhm.
this giant bureaucracy is deciding something, and you
Yeah.
don't really have that much control.
Yeah, and all because a kid said things kids are going to say sometimes, like a
Right.
weird. I was wrestling with dad, and
I mean, he
this
was
is how
he was
kid
probably.
talk.
I mean, he was right. Like we were wrestling around, and whatever happened in that, and yeah, but I guess, and me and Ashley talked about it too, and like, I mean, afterwards, like we're glad they're at a school like that where the teachers do pay attention to that sort of thing, and that's addressed.
Yeah. No, it's nice to know they're looking out for them, right?
But that's terrifying.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was a terrifying experience to
Very
go
scary.
through, man. It really was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like you take care of your kids, and like whether or not you get to keep your kids, depends on what this person thinks.
Did you
Yeah.
either of you ever see that? Who's the guy who played Norman Bates originally?
Anthony
Norman,
Perkins?
yeah, Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins. So Anthony
Yeah.
Perkins did a movie with Orson Welles called The Trial.
Oh yeah,
Did anyone see
Kafka.
that? Yes.
It's Kafka, based on Kafka, right?
And yeah, like he goes on trial, but he doesn't know what he's on trial for. Is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
And I just kind of I don't know.
Yeah, no, like there's a certain amount of secrecy because they're like, well, we got to protect the kids, and like,
right.
There's a certain amount of oftentimes brought in for good reasons, but like, a lot of times they want to protect traditionally vulnerable groups, I think women and kids, from having to go through the full rigmarole of a trial.
Right.
But when you apply those principles, it can lead to really weird procedural quirks. There's a bunch of Supreme Court cases, actually. So the Constitution, the Sixth Amendment, it has a clause, confrontation clause. In all criminal trials, the accused shall have the right to confront adverse witnesses. Fair enough, right? Like, got a witness that is testifying against you, you get to cross-examine. So, but there's a bunch of cases that really test this principle with really bad facts. So what will happen is you've got a spousal abuse case. And the cops will convince the person that's been abused to testify at a grand jury. Grand juries have the advantage for the victims. There's no cross-examination. It's friendly.
But yeah, not that I have full.
It's just prosecutors trying to have you tell your story. So they have this testimony. And what'll happen is between the grand jury and the indictment and the trial, the witness will no longer want to testify.
Okay. Hey guys, I do have to jump off.
Yeah.
Issues with like
That's all
family
right. It's my
stuff,
bedtime
but,
too.
Yeah, so good talking with you. I'm glad this worked. We'll set up something more structured. Like
no worries. Yeah, let's try
week.
something. Yeah, let's try something later. Like it took me most of the time. Well, I was drinking most of the time. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't. I was. We got on at the last.
You had a remote happy hour.
There you go. I had
all right,
a
guys. I do have to
happy
go.
hour.
All right, be
So
well, guys.
sorry.
Good talking to
Handle
y'all.
your business.
Yeah.
Good.
Good talking
Take
to
care
you.
of
Peace out,
yourself.
yeah.
I do want to hear more from Scott about legal things and smart people things. So let's do it again.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's
Good
been
talking
fun.
to you guys.
All right.
Yeah,
Take
care,
care,
everybody.
fellas. Good night. Hello, hello, hello. Is that how it works? Is it over now?
I don't know.
No, someone's on here still.
Yeah, I'm still on. I thought
Oh,
I'm like logged out on the desktop.
I thought when Chronic got off it was over, but I don't know how this works. There's so many remote apps and things that I'm learning about now.
Yeah.
Stuff I proudly avoided until just recently.
Same here, man. Yeah, I used Discord a little bit in school to like collaborate with people on stuff, but that's about it.
No, yeah, right. Like, so I don't know. So there's more people that's still on here. So we were just on a Zoom thing drinking with some of our friends, like college friends and stuff. But whatever, whoever hosts the thing, normally if they leave, that's just kind of the end of it.
When they dip, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Discord's a little different, I guess. Yeah.
So if I don't start with my private ID, people can keep on without me.
I'm hearing somebody's moaning. There's children. Somebody's moaning. I might be dipping soon myself. Yeah, exactly. That's what the life is. You just wait for someone to complain, and then you go do something.
Right.
All right, hold up a second. You sure? All right, cool. Thank you. All right. Wifey says she'll handle it. We'll see how this goes.
Gotcha. Well, how
what's
things
up,
going
man?
for
What have
you
you been
all over
doing?
there?
I haven't talked to
Not
you.
much, man. Yeah, I
It's
know.
just
I've
you
just
and me
been.
now, right? It's just
I
like how
think we're
often.
the only ones left. Yeah.
That's it. You don't get a lot of the Matt and Q show here. Like,
right? Yeah. No, it's I've been doing all right, just working from home. You know how it goes. I assume you're doing similar stuff.
yeah, man. The main difference is just that my job, I'm considered essential staff or something. So like I'm supposed to. So I still kind of go to work because I work in infrastructure, and they try to keep that going.
Right.
And so most of my so things have slowed down, but for the most part, I actually am still working.
Good.
So I'm
glad to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good in a lot of ways, honestly, because I leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
I leave the house, which it didn't seem like such a big deal until recently, but like, yeah, actually leaving the house is a thing.
Yeah. That's
So, like,
that's starting to. I'm starting to realize the value of that these days, definitely.
for sure. So, whatever I had to do something where I went out to Golf Road out in a relatively busy road, but I mean, there weren't many people out there, and I crawled around under some bridges with like 2 or 3 other guys, and we kind of hung out in each other's vicinity and just kind of did the salute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still just good. Whatever, it's good being outside. I understand. Like,
nice.
The thing for me is like I'm okay. I'm used to being by myself. I was always kind of comfortable being by myself. It didn't bother me.
Sure, yeah.
But
No,
other
same
people,
here.
yeah, I think you're a kindred spirit in that regard, right? Like it doesn't bother you. You can be comfortable,
Right.
You can find content or something to occupy yourself with or something. So like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Val's a social person, and she talks all the time. And it's harder on her. It
Mhm.
actually is harder on her. You can see it wearing on her a little bit, like people that are just more used to dealing with people. Because
Oh
she
man,
also
yeah,
gets more kid time than I do.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Which is a different thing in itself.
right,
Because it's weird. The whole balance and everything is thrown off also by it, because there were set times when the kids were with me or with her, and
sure,
we definitely have our different parenting styles, and the
right,
kids have
yeah,
to
and the
adjust to that as well. You know what I mean?
right, the whole route,
The kids know what that is, right? Like the kids
right.
learn pretty quickly what they can get off with her versus what they can get off with me, and I don't.
Yeah. Now the whole routine is thrown out of whack, right?
You're really loud in our room. That's why.
Like right now?
No, but when
Oh,
you're
when I'm upstairs. Okay.
so
Hold on a second, man.
Sure.
Hey, I still have a long
All right.
day of meal
Hey, you
prep
can say hi to Matt. Matt's right here.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Good.
Good.
How you holding up?
Making it happen. How about you?
That's yeah, same here, same here, working from home and yeah, basically
You're all
that's
a
it.
computer people, right? So you're sharing the
Right.
same struggle, right?
Yeah, he's working from
Yeah,
home like me, except he doesn't have he doesn't have the two girls in every conference call. That's it.
yeah. Right, yeah.
That's probably the difference. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, working from home
Yeah.
isn't bad. It's juggling the two kids while I work from home is the rough part, but
That would throw a monkey wrench into things, I imagine, yeah.
so.
But I hope they're doing all right.
They are. All right, you guys have
Good,
fun.
good.
I'm gonna roll my
Yeah.
phone.
Yep. Good night. I will.
All right.
Love you, sweetie. I'll see you.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you in an hour or whatever. Can you grab the monitors, please?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm coming that way anyway. Man, it's all good.
Yep, yep.
So whatever, man. Well, that said, a great
Yeah.
talking to you, sir. I'm gonna,
You as well, yeah.
yeah, man. Whatever you get. Remember, like you didn't think much about just hanging out with people,
Right.
but like, yeah, any hangout is significant now, right? Like it puts
All
a
of a
different
sudden, yeah.
it puts a
Weird
different
like
weight
that,
on
right?
things. Like,
Definitely. Yeah, very
yeah, it's
strange.
like we're not besties, but I mean, I miss your witticisms, and
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, it's always good to talk with you for sure.
it's all good, man.
So, yeah,
You're a smart guy and always awesome to talk to. So like, yeah, I do miss the
absolutely.
interactions,
Yeah.
especially when work, oddly enough, is taking me more away from people than I thought. I thought getting promoted in the way I was gonna put me more in the office, but at the same time, it
Hmm.
isolates me more than I expected to be isolated as well. So it's different. So all your personal interactions take on more weight when you expected them to take on less. I don't know. It's a weird
Right.
thing.
That makes sense as you move up in the ladder, I guess. You can have a different relationship with the people you work with, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too, right? Because I kind of uprooted from, I was in a tree with a natural progression, and then
Hmm.
just because of stuff that went on with the girls and the kids and whatever, I've kind of moved to a place where I don't really have those roots. I'm just here, and
Ah.
the people that are under me are like, I don't know them at all. They're just people, and they're actually employees. Whereas before,
Hmm.
the people I worked with were people that I'd been familiar with, and just I'd kind of been leading them just via seniority. And then when I got promoted, it just became an easy, just unofficial thing that supported what the situation that already existed. Whereas now it's like,
Gotcha.
you know what I mean? Like you have to be, you're dealing with these people, you don't really know them, and you gotta be careful, and they act funny, and it doesn't feel like it just doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? It's
Uh,
it's things you like, you actually have to think about managing, whereas before it was just kind of you knew what everyone was doing, and it was more of a natural thing, and it's like, oh, okay, let's just go ahead and do what we normally do. It's not much
right.
different than usual, but now it's completely different.
Wow. Wow, man.
It's a different
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of a rough transition there.
I can say that, but you know, we're
Yeah.
I'm standing in my basement stairwell talking, and it's
Mm.
not really that big of a deal. It's like a few people. And I'm drinking whiskey, and I don't go to work as often as I should, and I kind of skip out and then don't report it and stuff like that, and it's fine. You know what I mean? Life's good. Life's good.
Okay.
It's
All
fine.
right.
It's fine.
It's
It's
working
all
out for
good.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Nice.
as big of a deal as it sounds with us talking here. But
Mm.
but these things, you don't have these social interactions, so all these conversations take on added weight.
Right.
So like
Right. For sure.
normally I would just curse or say something risque and move past the issue. But now it's just me and you talking, so I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Right. Yeah. A little bit more one-on-one.
That's it, man. So
Right.
are you good though, or I forget you?
Yeah, man. I'm doing okay. It was pretty chill. I don't have. I've been putting in a lot of hours of work because yeah, I'm in the healthcare industry, sort of. So
Okay.
and like chaotic in general for all that stuff. So I'm just trying to like put out fires and play catch up most of the time. But other than that, just chilling, watching TV shows and YouTube and movies and that type of stuff.
So are you doing a lot of data entry type stuff, or like I don't mean like or like
No,
managing?
no.
I don't know. I mean, I know like you're not actually doing data entry, but the only reason I bring this up is because I know someone. I was just watching someone who was on the other Zoom party that couldn't even participate because they were like trying to enter all this information and trying to get all this and trying to aggregate, I guess, all this data together from all this stuff they're working with. So, I mean, I know you're not a data entry guy. You're obviously above that. But I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know exactly how you interact with the current situation. And
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I deal with a lot is sort of like managing the data that's already there in the database. So I don't have to enter
right.
it, but like I do have to like, when people are calling in being like, "Hey, something's wrong with this," I have to kind of dig down and be like, "Okay, well, what's it supposed to be like, and now what's the problem here?" I guess.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That sounds closer.
Yeah. And it can.
Is there more
Yeah.
like load on you because of the current situation, or is it something different?
On me personally, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say so. I mean, because like we do some like support related stuff, there's just like more issues in general. Um, and there seems to be there's like definitely you can feel that there's like a higher level of stress and like urgency from people because people are just worried about like what's gonna happen. So you
Yeah.
get that vibe and you see more stuff coming in and people are obviously like upset and not one to like play around or like be patient or anything. So it makes a
Okay.
difference for sure. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Yeah. It was just a little under a little more pressure for who knows,
Right.
however
Yeah.
many reasons. It makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I don't want to, I want to make it as easy on those people as possible because obviously they're having a rough time right now being like working in clinics with people who are immunocompromised and like, more susceptible to getting sick and stuff. And they're under enough stress already. So, you want to make their jobs a little bit, if at all possible.
That makes perfect sense. All right. Well, because of the hour.
Yeah, it's getting pretty late.
Yeah, we still gotta work and stuff. So
Yeah, same here. So
yeah,
I'll let you
exactly.
go, man.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Let's
Yeah, good to talk though. We'll
it's
try and get
great to
some
talk, man.
regular
Let's
going on
make it.
there. Yeah.
We'll figure something out, man. We don't have to,
Yeah, we
just talk
figured out how to
about.
set up the Discord and everything tonight, so that's ready to go for next time, I guess.
There you go, exactly. So hopefully we
Right.
set up some situation where we don't have to just talk about things going bad and being sad all the time. We just talk about
Right.
bad television and go back to usual.
Exactly, yeah.
All
And maybe
right, take
listen
it
to
easy.
Scott talk about law stuff. Yeah, you too. Take
Yeah,
care, man.
exactly. I was actually kind of intrigued, but hey,
Yeah,
smart guy. All right.
he is. He's a smart guy.
No,
All right.
amazing, an amazing guy. But I'll
Right.
talk to you soon. All right.
All right, man. Take care.
Good night, sir. Take care of yourself.
Night.
Peace.